Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Jeremy Scott Fitness Podcast, a radio show coming to you on this Saturday, September the 26th, 2020. Hopefully it finds you staying safe and staying sweaty all at the same time. And I gotta hurry today because I have a deadline to meet. My girl, Jenna Gribble from the Get Your Shit Together podcast is heading over here to show me how to set up our new podcast. What we're going to do with all of the mics and the equipment and everything. I don't know anything. So it's going to be very helpful to me, but I wanted to get one last episode in on this setup for you guys because I've been working on it for a little bit, and then a couple stories and things have came to me that I thought were important to share. So I'm going to try to rattle this off before she comes and bangs on the door here. So with that said, this episode is brought to you by my homies over at, you guessed it, Athletic Greens, the one supplement I take every single day, in addition to the supplement I'm going to talk about today on the episode. But I love Athletic Greens. I think it tastes the best of all the green supplements out there by far. And I'm not going to eat enough veggies. None of you guys do either. So it's the easiest way for me to get all my micronutrients in to keep my immune system and my body running at its optimal levels. If you're interested in 20 free travel packs, hit me up. I'm happy to share it with you, or if you're really on the fence, I'll even send one right to your front door. I won't actually, but Monica will from my office, and it will come right to your front door from us, and it's our gift to you. Just so that way you can really make a decision and know I'm not bullshitting you guys, that it really is the best thing on the market. And I actually did get a letter today, a handwritten letter from a dude, Andrew Newton, out in San Diego, California. Andrew, I don't know if you listen to the podcast, but if you do, shout out to you for sending me a handwritten letter. He actually had sent us a DM on Instagram, and then we sent him the Athletic Greens right to his front door there in San Diego. And so he sent us a handwritten thank you, which was super cool. So appreciate it, dude. And just so you guys know, I don't bullshit you. I'm not going to sell you guys horse shit. I'm not going to say take things I don't take. I'm not going to say eat, a certain way that I don't think is healthy and, good for you and your body and your lifestyle. And there's even more proof of it. So if you're really on the fence, we will send you a pack right to your front door. I don't know anybody else who is doing that, who works with any company, but I'm happy to do it if that's going to get you guys to get off the fence and actually make a decision and be healthier. Then we'll hook you up with the 20 free travel packs after that. So there we are. So today's episode, we're going to talk about vitamin D. And I've been talking about this forever, honestly, and especially during this season of life, like the last probably 6 months hard, the importance of not being deficient in vitamin D, making sure your body is getting a sufficient amount, typically through the sun and through food, if you can eat enough, which most people don't, and proper supplementation. Like taking a vitamin, like a K2 and a D3 supplement, typically whatever is, readily available for you guys. And I want to touch on that because it's something that I think the health professionals in charge who were on TV in March and April really shit the bed on and didn't talk enough about. I don't just mean like vitamin D is a savior, because that's not what I'm saying here. But, and I've said this before, and if you guys are annoyed of me repeating it, I'm sorry, but I'm passionate about it because I believe it. I think we had a great opportunity in like March and April when we were all in this together, right? Like when there was like a first couple weeks, we all felt like, okay, we're gonna do everything as a group. We're all connected. We're all gonna, band together as a community or a state or a country or whatever it was. And they had our ear and our eyes, and they had our attention, and that's what I'm driving at. When you have someone's attention and you're really concerned about keeping them healthy and safe, then share all the information with them. And we didn't do that. We said stay at home, masks are bullshit. Oh no, by the way, now masks are cool. Wipe off your groceries, buy Clorox wipes and hand sanitizer and hoard the toilet paper, but not a word about eating healthy. Not a word about fucking getting outside. Not a word about what are the cheapest supplements that are really gonna help you. And before I get on my crazy soapbox here, I'm going to share a story that Alan Cosgrove had posted, and then I'm going to get into the importance of vitamin D. And I thought about that. I'm like, why aren't these guys talking about, vitamin D, zinc, and C? Like these cheap ass supplements that literally cost damn near nothing. and we're not speaking about them. We're not mentioning them. We're talking about a vaccine, and I have no problem with that. If that's what your thing is, I'm not an anti-vax person. I got the shots as a kid, and if you show me data that things are going to be safe and effective for me, I'm happy to do it. I'm not one way or the other. I'm all for what makes the most logical sense to keep people happy and healthy and safe. But we're sitting up there talking about all these things and then all these other kinds of treatments and things. And I'm not a medical person. I'm just an idiot in a warehouse talking here. But if you understand the body, if you understand how it works, that your body is, the thing that makes you healthy, right? Like the drugs don't do it. If you take antibiotics, the antibiotics allow your body to do what it needs to do, but your body is the one repairing itself. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like there's not magic coming into your body. It's how your body is using it and reacting to it and allowing the cells to repair and heal and make your immune system back to where it needs to be. So we didn't talk about that. And I'm like, why wouldn't we talk about D and like C and zinc and like eating greens and exercise? Because there's no money in that. And that's really what it comes down to. And that's sad to say that. And I don't, as I get older, want to be jaded by the world and the system and people and not believe in it, but I don't. Because it's horseshit. These guys could have said that easily, and they didn't. And yet we sit up there and we talk about, vaccines and, what are the more expensive pharmaceuticals, and we don't really address the main issue and the main problem. And that's what I think is horseshit. And I'm like, well, why aren't they doing that? I'm like, well, because there is no money in it. There's no money in educating people to be healthier. That's not a great business model for the pharmaceutical companies and for the hospitals. Like imagine a world where, and I'm not saying I'm anything special, but I'm a healthy guy. I exercise, I go to sleep, I get quality sleep, I wake up, I eat right, I stay hydrated, I take care of my body, I go to the dentist twice a year, I always get a physical, I get my blood work done a couple times a year. I'm very much on top of it, and I'm not worth hardly anything to the pharmaceutical companies. You know why? Because I don't take any pharmaceuticals. I'm not worth a ton of money to the hospitals because, knock on wood, like I don't get sick. I'm not in there, getting surgeries. Like I'm not the person that is feeding the system. But by keeping people unhealthy and overweight with all these issues, well, that's a great business model for the pharmaceutical companies. That's a great business model for healthcare. And that's why I'm like, well, that's why they're not talking about it. And it makes me sick to my stomach to say that, but it's the truth. It's the same reason we don't educate people on finances. You know why we don't educate people on how to budget fucking money and spend way less than they make and not borrow their life to the hilt and take everything on credit and be over leveraged? Because there's no money in that for the credit card companies. There's no money in that for the banks. There's no money in that for the mortgage companies. There's no money in that for the title companies. When you buy things in cash with money you have, you're cutting out all these people. And I understand we have an economical system and we have a healthcare system. I'm all for that stuff. But we're not educated on these things, and so we have huge problems in those areas. And that's where I thought we had the greatest chance to really educate people on some of these things. And we shit the bed on it. And I think it was by design. I hate to say that, but I really do. I'm like, you could have said all the other stuff and then just mentioned, hey, by the way, stay away from people, wear your mask, wash your shit, and take these supplements that might help you. Even if they don't help you, it might help you. Like maybe eat a little bit better, maybe drink less booze, maybe get better quality sleep, maybe exercise. Throw those things in the mix. It's all you had to do. And it wasn't done. And I have to think, like, if you're a medical professional, don't you think like it's your job to say that and throw that out there? Here's what I'm doing to stay healthy and fit and be less susceptible to, disease and viruses and getting sick and have a shitty immune system. Would you not share those best practices like we do in the health and fitness industry? I share with you guys what I share my workouts. I create programs that are all over the world, for Men's Health, for bodybuilding.com, for Livestrong, wherever. You can find thousands of videos of me for free on YouTube, on Instagram, and Facebook. And then we have even detailed stuff that we sell and we coach people through. I share with you what I eat. I share with you the supplements I take. I feel like if I know better, I should do better. And that's my responsibility to you guys, to inform you. And yet these guys stood up there and didn't fucking do that. And I think it's almost criminal. Like, it's a disgrace. And so I'm going to talk about D here. I'm going to get down the rabbit hole. And I'm trying not to get worked up when I think about it. But it really pisses me off that we vilified gyms and healthcare professionals and all these things. And we said, oh, they're the problem. Yet 400,000 people a year, 400,000 people a year, give or take. My numbers might be slightly off. But about 400,000 people a year in America drop dead of heart disease. And we don't give a shit. We don't talk about it. It's not on the news. They don't update the numbers every single day. They make 4 more flavors of fucking Cheetos to sell you. And I'm all for people having free choices. If you want to eat 9 bags of Doritos, that's your call, but you got to live with the consequences. Yet we don't care when people do that, but yet we're not going to share with them the realities of what that's causing, what that's doing to them. Because again, I think like anything, you just follow the money, dude. You really have to. I hate to say that, but that is the real world. And if you're naive enough to believe something else, I'm sorry that I have to be the one to tell you that Santa Claus isn't real, but that's the truth, dude. And it's sad. And so I'm going to keep fighting the good fight for you guys to try to give you the best information possible. But I really think when you look at stuff, you know, there's more to it than what you see. And you can't just blindly put your faith in anybody, in anything, and you have to really educate yourself. And I'm lucky enough here to have about 15 doctors that come here. 15 medical doctors come here, plus our nurses and the PAs and everything else. So I'm surrounded by CFOs of hospitals, the best of the best. And it's really interesting to hear what they say. And I'm going to bring more people on as we go through this, and not to get off topic. But I'm going to talk about vitamin D and the importance of it here, since nobody else was doing it when they could have, and they could have told you that. And I'm going to share some statistics here taken from MSN.com, quotes directly from Dr. Fauci, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, and then obviously from the Boston Herald too, and some studies done by Boston University doctors as well. So I think credible sources, depending on what you choose to believe. And again, things that should have been shared at scale like crazy and just weren't. So, but before that, Alan Cosgrove, he's a fitness professional. His place is actually out in LA, so he's in LA County there. And he shared this on his Facebook, and I happened to just see it today as I was posting one of our groups. And rarely do I ever reshare anybody's stuff. Not that I don't think it's valuable, I just rarely ever do. I don't look at Facebook and social media like a normal person. I post and I run away. I'll come back and I'll reply to comments and I'll look at DMs to try to help you guys, but I follow people on there just because I'm like, I'll follow people back, but I really don't follow stuff or look at stuff because I can't, because I think it fucks your brain up and I think it's too toxic, and I don't care for it personally, but that's just me. But I'm happy it exists so I can help all of you guys, and it's blessed my life beyond belief. But he posted something and it was so good I had to reshare it. I'm actually going to read it here on the podcast. And it's, and I quote, "It's been another 2 weeks and we still have no official recommendations as regards to fitness or nutrition from the powers that be in fighting COVID-19. And gyms are still not permitted to open indoors in California. Smoking increases the risks of hospitalization from COVID by 150%. Obesity increases that risk by 700%. Maybe, just maybe, we should be adding weight loss to our public health recommendations? Question mark. Don't you think that would make sense? If we know, we didn't tell people not to smoke. Oh, we tell them, hey, don't smoke, but you can. There's no rules on that. There's no limits on that. And it's America. I'm glad that's why we live here. We have freedoms. But that increases your risk of hospitalization by 150%. And we don't talk about that on the news all fucking day. Obesity increases that risk by 700%. Yet we closed down all the gyms and said you can't do fitness anywhere. Not even socially distanced 6 feet apart with masks on. That's still ridiculous. It's insane to me that you can't exercise in LA County. It go on to say, but rather continue than ranting here. Maybe it's the fitness professional's fault. There's an overwhelming feeling out there that fitness is just about looks, and aesthetics, that we are about pecs and guns and butts and leg day. And perhaps that has come from the influence of the bodybuilding community. But we are more than that. Fitness is more than that. It's about strength, muscular endurance, aerobic capacity, mobility, flexibility, and so many other things. There is an abundance of scientific evidence showing the benefits of exercise on cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, cancer, obesity, diabetes, immune system, asthma, heart disease, dementia, stroke recovery, osteoporosis, fibromyalgia, low back pain, injury rehab, and just overall functionality. And I won't even begin to discuss the mental health benefits of regular exercise. That's indisputable and perhaps even more impressive. He goes on to say, I lost my mother to a heart attack when she was in her 50s. My dad has had 2 strokes. My mother-in-law has COPD. My father-in-law has late-stage cancer. All things that can be helped with a structured exercise program. He goes on to say, I myself am a 2-time cancer survivor who has had stem cell transplant. And if it wasn't for exercise and fitness, I wouldn't be here. Yes, we can help athletes perform better. Yes, we can make people look physically better and more attractive. But I truly believe what we do is so much more than that. Exercise is essential. Gyms are essential. And great fitness professionals are valuable. Fitness pros, let's step our game up. Share if you agree. I couldn't have said that shit any better myself, man. And I really, if you're still in a world where you don't understand that what we do here is more than just like sets and reps, you're confused, and I feel bad for you that you've never been part of a fitness community and a family that does so much for you in terms of just physical health, but mental health as well. There's an education piece, there's an accountability piece, and there's a community piece. But even if it wasn't that, and it was just about the exercise, that alone, my friends, is what does it. And I think that is what would do people far more good than harm during a time like this, or any time. And I'll harp on that until the day that I die. That's why I have the in-person facility, because I know people need it, and I know it matters to them. And otherwise, I would just do stuff on the internet all day, and I'd make way more money, and I'd be even richer, and I'd have even a higher net worth than I do. I'm like, but I love this, and I understand the importance of it, and it's fun. It's fun to exercise. It's fun to be active with other people. It's fun to see people actually change and transform and put a smile on their face and share stories with them and be around them. And we did that through fitness. So that's my side rant. Okay, on to, I'm sorry, you guys, this shit just bugs me, man. I don't know. Like, I speak to you on this podcast like I talk to a lot of our athletes and clients here, and a lot of our medical people here, and a lot of the people I believe in here. It really annoys me, man, that we have not done a better job of this, and we find ourselves in the position that we're in because of this bullshit. So with that, I'm going to share something with you from the Boston Herald, and this was published on the 17th, so about 9 days ago. Vitamin D can help reduce coronavirus risk by 54%, says Boston University doctor. The sunshine vitamin is easy to find and relatively cheap. Ain't that the truth, bro? Stop waiting for a miracle drug. A Boston University doctor says a sufficient amount of vitamin D can cut the risk of catching coronavirus by 54%. People have been looking for a magic drug or waiting for a vaccine and not looking for something this simple, says Dr. Michael Holick, professor of medicine, psychology, and biophysics at Boston University School of Medicine. Seems like a dude who's got his shit together, doesn't it? And I agree with you, doctor, says the gorilla in a warehouse. Holick and his colleagues studied blood samples from Quest Diagnostics of more than 190,000 Americans from all 50 states and found that those who had deficient levels of vitamin D had a 54% higher COVID positivity compared to those with adequate levels of vitamin D in their blood. The risk of getting coronavirus continued to decline as vitamin D levels increased. The study, published in the Public Library of Science, one peer-reviewed journals, shows the higher your vitamin D status, the lower your risk. How simple was that? If we just could have said, hey, and this is shit that we just didn't learn. This is shit we've always known. And yeah, maybe we didn't have the analysis 6 months back on like what it could help with COVID or other things. But you know D is important. You know C is important. You know zinc's important. You know exercise and eating right is important. And people might know that on a base level, but when you have their ear and they're scared shitless for their health. If you fucking said it then, people would listen to you. That's not part of the article, sorry. Next, I continue. Many people are vitamin D deficient because there are only small amounts in food, Holick said. Most vitamin D comes from sun exposure, and many are deprived, especially during the winter months, which a lot of people are coming up on. But the sunshine vitamin is easy to find and relatively cheap in drugstores, and taking vitamin D pill comes at no risk. It's perfectly safe, Holick said. It's considered to be by many the nutrient of the decade. COVID-19 positivity is strongly associated with vitamin D levels in blood, and a relationship that stayed the same across different races, sexes, age ranges, and study states. Vitamin D suppresses excessive cytokine release that can be present as a cytokine storm, a common cause of COVID-related morbidity and mortality. A deficiency in the nutrient alters the immune system, making one more likely to get upper respiratory infections, Holick said. Throughout the pandemic, people of color have been disproportionately affected by coronavirus, experiencing a higher risk of acquiring it and having serious complications, according to the Center for Disease Control. Holick's study examined the zip codes of people of color and found patients from predominantly Black and Hispanic zip codes had lower levels of vitamin D and were also more likely to have coronavirus than in patients from predominantly white, non-Hispanic zip codes. The average adult needs around 2,000 units of vitamin D a day. He himself takes about 6,000 units a day and has done for decades and is in great health. And he looks like an older dude to me, like he's an old kind of half bald dude with white hair, kind of looks like Mr. Burns. So he says he's still crushing it. Several other studies on vitamin D have shown its benefits to the immune system. Research published with the National Institute of Health showed people with lower vitamin D levels were more likely to self-report a recent upper respiratory tract infection than those with sufficient levels. Another study of more than 11,000 participants published by the British Medicine Journal found that vitamin D supplementation reduced the risk of acute respiratory tract infection among all patients. Vitamin D definitely improves your overall immunity to fight infections. I will share this on my newsletter probably sometime this week because I do think it's important. And this is a dude who seems like he has his shit together. There's no ulterior motive. There's no agenda behind it. He's not saying like vaccines are horse shit. He's not saying like anything else is dangerous or crazy. He's literally just saying like you guys could take vitamin D, and I'm sure he has no stock in vitamin D companies. Even if he did and you bought a ton of it, he'd make like $1 because vitamin D is so dirt cheap. If you guys want to know the exact one I take, I'm happy to share it with you. There's a couple at our house. If you're watching on YouTube right here, this is a K2 D3 2-in-1 formula I take. I'm happy to send you guys the link if you DM me. I take between 5,000 and 10,000 IUs a day. I've also now, since it's not 800 degrees here, I've been trying to go on these shirtless vitamin D walks, and sometimes I put them on my Instagram. So, because I'm a fitness dude, and that's what we do. But it's helped for sure. And so I found myself doing that. And again, I've probably been in my pool and out in the sun more this year than any other year, just because obviously it is important and it is vital, but I also do supplement with it every single day because I know I'm not going to get to eat enough through food, through my diet. I don't think most people will either. And honestly, for you guys, when you think about the D exposure, if you can get most of your skin exposed, that would help. I'm talking chest, back, arms, and legs, not just your face in the sun. It has to be more exposure to that. But I would also urge all of you guys to supplement it just for the fact of it's dirt cheap. And if you're going to take just 5,000 IUs a day, I think for most of you, it's going to be fine. I have shared this before. I get my blood work done all the time. I probably get my blood work done every 3 months. We have great insurance. I got a great doctor down the street here. They're awesome, super chill. And I just like to know where I'm at with everything, with my hormones, with my liver function, kidney function, everything. It's what I do. That's excessive. You guys have no need to do that if you're doing your yearly physical, maybe blood work once or twice a year. I'm sure that's fine. But I go in, and over the past 10 years, I've been deficient in vitamin D twice. Not in the last, I don't think in the last 7 years I haven't. Early on when I moved here, because I would be working so much and I didn't supplement with it and I wasn't getting enough sun exposure, I would actually be deficient in vitamin D. And oddly enough, that's when I might get sick every other year or maybe even once a year. And knock on wood, I felt great for a long time. The only time I've been sick in the last 7 years really is when I filmed a full-on men's health program where they beat the shit out of you for like 3 or 4 hours a day, every day of the hardest Metcon workouts of your life. And then I got on, I flew across, it's a long story, but that's the only time I've been sick. And it was my own fault, for sure. I was being a dumbass. But short of that, in the last 7 years, never sick, and I feel great. And I have to attribute some of it to obviously my overall lifestyle. But I think if the D helped in any way, it was well worth the investment because, like I said, it costs almost nothing to take it. And the same thing with like C and zinc as well, which are also super cheap. And then Athletic Greens basically covers everything else for me, which is not cheap, but I think worth it, and I attribute a lot of it to that. So I do think it's vital, and I've talked about it before. I think all of you guys, always before you do anything, consult with your medical professional and see, what works best for you and what they suggest. But I don't see a medical professional out there, for a healthy, normal person, say, hey, this is going to do you any harm and you shouldn't take it. And I'm going to share this part of it just because somebody sent it to me. And actually, Rick Sturb, who is a fitness professional, has been talking about D this whole time too, like almost all of us have, except we just don't have a platform to be on national TV. I have a really big audience for my life and for where it's at, but I don't have access to all the stuff like a Dr. Fauci does or any of these people do. And I'm not blaming these guys, but they shit the bed, man. They just did. Like, I don't know what they're allowed to say or what they can or can't say on TV and where they go places, but this would have been a great opportunity just to share what they do to stay healthy and build up your immune system. But nobody did that. I didn't hear it anyway. And if it exists out there, send me the link from April 5th. I'd love to watch it because I tuned into all those broadcasts and briefings and I didn't see any of it. But this is from MSN, and Rick Sturb shared this, and I think it was updated what does it say, 5 hours ago? And this is from MSN.com. Well, Dr. Anthony Fauci admits most so-called immune boosting supplements being marketed for COVID are mostly do nothing. He does believe the benefits of vitamin D. If you are deficient in D, that does have an impact on your susceptibility to infection. So I would not mind recommending it. I do it myself, taking vitamin D supplements, said Fauci, 79, during an Instagram Live on September 10th. And I quote, if you are deficient in D, that does have an impact on your susceptibility to infection, so I wouldn't mind recommending it. Well, you should have fucking recommended it, bro, a long time ago. Because if people were hanging on your every word 6 months ago, would have been a great time, dude. So I had to write that in there and just to understand like why vitamin D is important really quick. It's a fat-soluble vitamin that plays a role in building and maintaining muscle and overall bone health. So people who have low vitamin D may develop soft and kind of brittle bones, if you will. The primary sources of D obviously are direct sunlight. It can be obtained through foods such as fatty fish, salmon, tuna, mackerel, mushrooms, and milk, but most of you aren't going to eat enough to get it. Researchers at the University of Chicago found a link between vitamin D deficiency and the likelihood of being infected with COVID-19. Those with untreated deficiencies were more likely to test positive, according to a study published in September. The National Institute of Health released a statement last updated in July saying there are insufficient data to recommend either for or against the use of vitamin D for the prevention of COVID-19. I understand we're going to wait for if there's even a chance it can help. Why would we not just say, what's the harm in taking it? It's like, oh, maybe Brussels sprouts help this, but they may not. What's the harm in eating them? They're good for you anyway. There's benefits of it. Now, how do you know if you're vitamin D deficient? Obviously, there's a study in 2014 that NIH, the researchers estimated that 35% of adults and nearly 50% of infants in the U.S. had a vitamin D deficiency. According to a study from 2014, they estimated that 35% of adults and nearly 50% of infants had a deficiency in vitamin D. So look around your homies. 3 or 4 out of 10 of them are deficient. You might be one of them. So without a blood test, it's hard to tell. But you guys, if you go get your blood work done, they should be able to tell you. And it's not super crazy, and it shouldn't be that hard to figure it out. And again, if all these universities now are coming with studies, and some of these, the medical people that the White House is using to get their words and hear from them, they're taking it, it might not be a bad investment for you either. It's cheap, it's simple, it's a single pill, and if you're in a place where you're not going to get a lot of sun, for a lot of you now, it's almost October. If you're like me and you grew up in the Midwest, you ain't seeing the sun, bro. In October, November, December, January, February, March, maybe April, but then May, really. July, August, so on. Like, for us here in the Valley, like this is our winter now. This is when we're in the sun more than ever, but a lot of you aren't. That still doesn't mean I'm not going to supplement with it, because I do think it's that important. I also, again, I've shared all the stuff that I take. Athletic greens every single day. Take a D, take a C, take a zinc. I'll share with you, obviously, we'll hook you guys up with the greens if you want to try them, but I'll share with you the same K2, D3 that I take. And it can't hurt. And I didn't mean to like get super riled up. I'm just sweating right now, like sweating in my office. If you're watching me on YouTube, you can see me sweating through my shirt. I didn't mean to ramble on for 15 minutes of this about how pissed off I was, but I do think it's important, and I wanted to share this with you guys, because I really think it's an issue in the world. Like we've just done things wrong in a lot of ways, and not really putting importance on nutrition, proper supplementation, sleep, and exercise. That's the bigger issue here, above everything else. I understand there's a virus around. I understand there's a pandemic. I get that. I'm not downplaying it. It sucks when people pass away. But if they're coming out with all these things, saying that if you're sufficient with D and if you supplement it, like it's like a 55% chance less likely to get some stuff or test positive for some stuff, if it can help, why are we not sharing that early and often? And even if we're not 100%, have they not shared a bunch of shit already that they weren't 100% on? Don't wear a mask. Oh, now wear a mask. Oh, it's on surfaces. Oh, no, it's not on surfaces. Oh, it travels 10 feet. Oh, it travels 6 feet. Oh, it can travel in droplets. Oh, it can't travel in droplets. Well, what's the harm in saying eat right and take vitamin D? Yet, you don't hear it. And that's the disheartening thing. You have to search for these obscure articles that we fitness professionals are looking to find, and taking like little sentence snippets from like an Instagram live interview, or having the guy at the Boston Herald actually produce a study and go through these things. It's lunacy to me. It's like I've always, as a little kid, questioned everything and thought the world didn't make sense. And I thought a lot of the rules were bullshit, like school and a lot of ththings that surround that. And I thought as I got older, maybe things would make more sense to me. But the older I get, and the more I realize it's all a bunch of nonsense, man. It's all craziness. So hopefully this information helps shed some light on some things. If you want to share this with a friend or family member who doesn't mind a guy getting riled up, please do so. And I think, if you're looking to spend money, I say it all the time, we're confused in America. We're super lucky to live here, and we're super lucky to have all the things we do, and we live in the greatest era and the greatest time ever, even though the world is weird and with its problems. Like, we're still super, super blessed to be where we're at. And I would live in a smaller house. I would drive a cheaper car. I do. I'd wear your clothes a little bit longer. I'd be less fancy on trips and on dinners if it meant you could feed your body whole, real nutrient-dense food. If it meant you could make time for exercise because you weren't working 200 hours a week. And it meant you could buy some of these really basic supplements and put them in your body and make your immune system the most badass thing it could be, so you feel healthy and you move well. And if you don't feel good, what else do you have? And if the information is out there, you got to listen to it. And you got to, again, just really everything you hear and read, do your own research and look into it. And maybe you listen to a guy like me, or maybe you think I'm full of shit and I'm an idiot, but that's fine too. It's just, I know how I feel, and I know what feeling shitty is like. I know what feeling unhealthy is like. I lived there for a long time. I did enough damage to my body early on. Like I am the original transformation program. Like I'm living, breathing proof of it. I lead from the front. And I feel the best I've ever felt. And I have the smartest friends that I've ever had in my life. And they're all kind of sharing the same thing and saying the same things. I just wish, at scale, it was shared as much as it needs to be. So hopefully that helps you guys. If you have questions on vitamin D3 or zinc or C or athletic greens or anything that can help you, please reach out to me. Like I said, I'm happy to share it anytime. I'm a real person, so I get back to you guys early and often. I really, I try to pride myself on being as available as I can, even though the internet does drive me nuts. I know it's important, and I know you guys have questions that if I can answer or share with you some of the hacks and things that have made me healthier and help myself and my family and clients of mine, I'm happy to do so. And I thank you guys for listening. I truly appreciate it. So I want you to stay healthy and stay happy out there, and throw some D in your life. I think it can help. So if you happen to be on iTunes right now, stop. Don't be a lazy ass. Go to the podcast app on your iPhone, scroll your finger all the way down. It'll take you a minute. We got a lot of episodes. Hit that 5-star button and leave me a couple of sentences. I truly would appreciate it. And again, sharing it with the friend or family member is probably one of the best things you can do for me. It helps spread the message. It helps educate them, and it's a win-win for everybody. So I appreciate you guys. If you need something, holler at me. Have an amazing rest of your Saturday. Get out, be active, get some vitamin D in your life, and a lot of fun stuff and a lot of cool guests coming on the podcast here as we roll into October and hopefully keep rolling back into normal life. And not the new normal, I mean like normal, where we can all just be together and do fun shit and cool stuff, and hopefully look back on this season of life and be like, man, that was a crazy ride, but I'm sure hell glad it's over. So we appreciate you guys, and until next time, eat well, train hard, be nice to people, and please, you guys, keep doing shit you love with people you enjoy, because your life is too short not to. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.